Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take these big, sometimes overwhelming ideas and, we try to boil them down to the essential truths you can actually use.
And today we are diving into a concept that promises these remarkable results not from some huge overhaul, but from tiny changes, what the source material calls atomic habits.
Right, atomic. And that word is so important here.
It really is. We're talking about the single smallest unit of a larger system. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to uncover the four simple laws that really govern how these habits are built and how they stick.
And we have to start with this story about British cycling, because it just proves the point perfectly. I mean, before 2003, they were basically a joke in the sport.
Oh, completely. Since 1908, they'd won a single Olympic gold medal. Just one. And in 110 years, they had never won the Tour de France.
They were so bad that one of the top bike manufacturers actually refused to sell them bikes. They were worried it would hurt their brand.
That's how bad it was. But then a man named Dave Brailsford takes over as performance director, and he didn't have some grand vision for one massive breakthrough.
No, he had this strategy he called the aggregation of marginal gains.
Exactly. His thinking was if you break down everything you could possibly think of that goes into riding a bike, and then you improve each little component by just 1%, well, the compound effect would be enormous.
And when we say 1%, we mean an obsessive level of detail. They didn't just redesign bike seats, they were rubbing alcohol on tires for better grip.
And it went way beyond the bike itself.
Oh, way beyond. They started looking into the riders' lives. They figured out the ideal pillow and mattress for each individual athlete just to optimize their sleep and recovery.
They even hired a surgeon to teach the team the most effective way to wash their hands.
Just to reduce the chance of getting a cold.
Right. And they painted the inside of the team truck white.
Why?
So they could spot tiny bits of dust that might get into the finely tuned bike mechanics. I mean, it sounds almost crazy.
These are not grand plans. These are micro adjustments.
Precisely. And the result? Just 5 years later, at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, British cycling completely dominated. They won 60% of the gold medals available.
And then went on to win the Tour de France 5 times in 6 years. From total failures to, well, the most successful team in history.
And that's the core idea, isn't it? Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement.
I love that phrase. It makes so much sense.
It does. Good habits like, say, a short workout, reading for 15 minutes, they compound into incredible knowledge and fitness. But the reverse is also true. Small stresses, negative thoughts, junk food, they also compound into serious problems over time.
Okay, but here's the problem I think everyone runs into. If these 1% changes are so powerful, why is it so hard to stick with them at the beginning? You hit that what the book calls the valley of disappointment.
Yes, that feeling that your effort is wasted.
Exactly. You're going to the gym for a month, you're eating better, but you look in the mirror and nothing. It's so frustrating.
It is, and it's because we expect progress to be linear. We think 1 unit of effort should equal 1 unit of result instantly. But it's almost never like that. It's exponential.
The ice cube analogy.
The ice cube analogy is perfect. You can have a room in an ice cube. The temperature can go from, say, 25 degrees up to 31, 6 degrees of change. And what happens to the ice?
Nothing. It's still just a block of ice.
Exactly. All that work, all that energy was stored. But then that one single degree from 31 to 32, that unlocks this massive change. The ice melts. The breakthrough moment is the result of all the previous actions.
It's like the stonecutter who hits a rock 100 times and nothing happens.
But on the 101st blow, it splits in two. And that last blow didn't do it alone. It was all the ones that came before. That's why the system is more important than the goal.
Right, because both winners and losers have the same goals.
Everyone wants to win the championship. It's the system of tiny, continuous improvements that actually makes the difference. And that system is built on 4 laws.
The 4 laws of behavior change. So let's start with Law 1, which is focus on the cue. And it's simple. Make it obvious.
To change a habit, you first have to be aware of the ones you already have, especially the ones on autopilot.
And a good way to start is with what's called a habit scorecard. You just list out your daily behaviors, wake up, check phone, brush teeth, and mark them as good, bad, or neutral.
You have to make the unconscious conscious. There's a great story about a paramedic who was at a family party, and she looked at her father-in-law and just knew.
Real what?
She knew he had a major arterial blockage. He felt totally fine, but her brain, trained by years of experience, unconsciously picked up on tiny changes in the blood distribution in his face. We need to do that but consciously with our own habits.
Okay, so once you're aware, how do you make a new habit's cue obvious?
The best technique is probably habit stacking. The formula is really simple. After my current habit, I will do my new habit.
So you're sort of piggybacking on something you already do automatically.
You're using that existing momentum, like after I pour my morning coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. The cue is already built in.
I think the most powerful tool here is just designing your environment. It's all about visibility.
It really is. The example of the apples is so simple but so true. If you hide them in the crisper drawer in your fridge, you'll forget they exist.
But if you put them in a nice bowl on the counter where you see them every time you walk by,
You'll eat them. The cue is obvious. And this works at a huge scale, too.
the Schiphol airport example.
Yeah, in Amsterdam, they just put a tiny sticker that looked like a fly in the center of the urinals. A tiny, obvious visual cue.
And it cut their cleaning costs by 8% a year.
Exactly. Which leads us really nicely into law 2, which is focused on the craving. Make it attractive.
Okay, so this is about the motivation behind the habit.
Right. And what's fascinating is the neuroscience. We think we crave the pleasure of the reward itself. But the big dopamine spike, the thing that really drives us, happens in anticipation of the reward. It's the wanting, not just the liking.
So our brains are actually more wired for desire than for pleasure itself.
Much more. And that makes modern life a minefield, because everything is engineered to be a supernormal stimulus.
Meaning?
It's an exaggerated version of reality that triggers our ancient brain wiring. Junk food isn't just food. It's a hyper-concentrated dose of salt, sugar, and fat. Social media is a hyper-concentrated dose of social validation.
So how can we possibly make good habits like eating a salad or reading a book attractive enough to compete with that?
We leverage one of the most powerful forces there is, social imitation. We're tribal creatures. We want to fit in.
The Asch conformity experiment.
A classic. You put one real subject in a room with a bunch of actors. You show them lines and ask which one is longest. The actors all give the same, obviously wrong answer.
And what happens?
75% of the real subjects went along with the group's wrong answer at least once, just to conform. That's how badly we want to belong.
So the key is to join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior.
Exactly. If you want to get fit, join a gym where people are serious and consistent. There's this story about an MIT robotics class. Out of 10 students, 4 of them later became astronauts.
Wow.
When you're in an environment where excellence is just the baseline, you can't help but soak it up. It makes the hard work seem attractive.
Which brings us to Law 3, which is about the response. Make it easy. This one feels almost like a cheat code.
It's based on a fundamental principle of human nature, the law of least effort. We are wired to conserve energy. We will almost always gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of work.
So we need to use our own laziness to our advantage. But people get stuck here, right? Yeah. They confuse being in motion with taking action.
All the time. Motion is planning and strategizing. Action is actually doing the thing. And the University of Florida photography class experiment explains this perfectly.
Okay, remind us of that one.
The professor split the class in 2. The quantity group would be graded solely on the number of photos they submitted. 100 photos got you an A.
And the other group?
The quality group. They only had to submit one single photo, but it had to be nearly perfect.
And the best photos all came from the quantity group.
Every time. Because they're constantly doing, shooting, making mistakes, learning. The quality group just sat around theorizing about what makes a perfect photo and ended up with mediocre work.
So we need to reduce the friction of the action.
Yes. Think about Japanese manufacturing and lean production. They didn't add more complex machinery. They redesigned workspaces to eliminate wasted motion. By making the process easier, they made better products.
So for us, that means priming our environment.
Exactly. Something as simple as resetting the room. When you're done watching TV, put the remote back, fluff the pillows. When you wake up, make your bed. You are reducing the friction for your future self, making the next right action easier to start.
And for things we don't do often, like saving for retirement, that's where automation is key.
Absolutely. Automation is the ultimate form of making it easy. You set it up once, and the desired action happens without any friction at all.
Okay, that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. Law 4, which governs the reward. Make it satisfying.
This is the cardinal rule of behavior change. What is rewarded is repeated. The problem is, we live in what's called a delayed return environment.
We work out today for our health years from now. We save money today for retirement decades away.
But our ancient brain is wired for immediate returns. It wants the payoff now. That conflict is called time inconsistency.
So we have to find a way to make the delayed reward feel immediate. How do we do that?
We need to inject some kind of immediate sensory satisfaction. The Public Health Initiative in Karachi, Pakistan is a brilliant example of this.
This is about hand washing, right?
Yes. The residents knew it was important, but they just weren't doing it consistently. So the researchers introduced a new soap. It wasn't more effective, but it smelled great and lathered up really nicely.
So the immediate reward wasn't long-term health. It was the nice smell and the pleasant feeling of the foam.
Exactly. That little bit of immediate satisfaction was enough to make the habit stick, and it led to a 52% drop in diarrhea in the community.
That's incredible. Another way to do this is tracking, making progress visible.
Yes, the paperclip strategy.
Tell us about that.
This young stockbroker, Trent Darsman, started each day with 2 jars on his desk. One was full of 120 paper clips. The other was empty.
And after every sales call he made, he'd move one paper clip from the full jar to the empty one.
And that was it. He didn't focus on the results. He just focused on moving the clips. The visual proof of his effort was immediately satisfying. Within 18 months, he was bringing in $5 million for his firm.
It's that don't break the chain mentality. But there's a danger here, isn't there?
There is a big one. It's called Goodhart's Law.
When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
Exactly. If you're a restaurant owner and you only measure daily revenue, you might start to cut corners on food quality to boost short-term profits. You end up optimizing for the metric, not the actual goal, which is a great customer experience.
So your measurement has to truly reflect the outcome you want.
It has to. Don't just track revenue, track how many customers finish their meals or how many leave positive reviews.
Okay, so that brings us to the end. To quickly recap the 4 laws: make the cue obvious, make the craving attractive, make the response easy, and make the reward satisfying.
But there is one last sort of provocative idea we want to leave you with. It connects back to that 3rd law, make it easy. Success isn't just about effort. It's really about fit.
Meaning, you can have the best system in the world, but if you're applying it to the wrong game, you're always going to struggle.
Think about elite athletes. Michael Phelps, the swimmer, he has this incredibly long torso and short legs, which is perfect for moving through water.
But terrible for running.
Right. And then you have Hicham Garouge, the distance runner, who has the opposite build. Long legs, short torso. If they switched sports, they'd both be mediocre no matter how hard they worked. Their biology gives them an advantage.
So the final thought for you to consider is this. If you can't win by being better, how can you win by being different?
Stop trying to just grind harder in a game that doesn't suit you. Instead, look for the unique intersection of your own skills. Scott Adams, the creator of the Dilbert cartoon, said he wasn't the world's best artist or the funniest comedian. But he could draw pretty well, he was pretty funny, and he had a business background.
And he combined them.
He combined them to create a new game, a unique niche that perfectly favored his strengths. So the challenge is to find that intersection for yourself, the place where your natural talents make success feel just a little bit easier.